Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the FrostBytez gaming experience, where we're going to be taking a look at Touhou Luna Nights. Now, before we get into this game, I do want to make it known that I don't really know too much about the Touhou games. All I really know is that they're bullet hell style games, and there's also some fighters out there, but aside from that, this would actually be my very first Touhou game that I'm playing. The reason why I state that ahead of time is because this game has a little bit of a story to it. Not a big story, but a little bit of a story, along with certain characters that are part of the Touhou world, of which I know none of. So I kind of wanted to state that ahead of time, because if you guys want me to dive into the story of it, or, you know, talk about the characters, I can't really do that in this game because I don't know any of these characters, okay? I found this game just browsing through Twitter on the day that it dropped, and it just stated that it was like 20% off or something like that when it dropped, and it was a Metroidvania style game. And honestly, that's all I really need to want to, you know, play a game, is if it's Metroidvania style and if it's actually fun. And I actually ended up enjoying the game so much that I decided to do a Let's Play for it. It's not a very long game. I don't anticipate this to go over 2 hours, basically. It's a really short game. And if you're interested in getting it, head on to Steam. I think it's usually 15 bucks. I got it for 12 bucks. But again, do note that this game is only really about 2 hours long. First playthrough, you'll get it done in under 5 hours or so. But I do feel like, gameplay-wise, it's actually well worth it. So it's like any other Metroidvania style game. First off, we have these little how-to-play deals that you can utilize on your first go-through. In the very beginning, we've only really got a couple things we have to worry about. B is your jump button, and if you hold it, you do this little glide through the air. Nice little slow glide. You utilize the A button, your attack button, but you also consume MP with every single attack that you throw with it. So, you know, that's going to be something to keep an eye on. As we just read, if you hold down the A button, you can actually slow down time for a short while. Something that's mostly used for puzzles and some boss fights, but outside of that, there's not really too much of a use for it, because we get a better item that, you know, better than just being able to slow down time. Anyway, so yeah, being a Metroidvania style game, one thing that I will be looking to do with this run is 100%ing the game. I'm going to find every single item and showcase 100% of the map. And even then, it's not going to take me that long. Again, it should only take me about 2 hours worth, unless, you know, I mess up every now and then, which with Recording Curse, you never know what's going to happen. So we just leveled up. Let's go ahead and take a quick look through that. So we are now level 2. If you take a look at this, we have our map. Above the map is a little scale-looking ordeal, like a little spreadsheet. Those are all the upgrades that we can find. We'll get more into details on that later. But if you look down, you have a level-up system, experience, and then you have some attack and defense. The attack and defense through leveling up doesn't really go up that much that I've noticed, really. You don't gain any extra health or any extra MP or knife or any of that stuff. You get those through upgrades. The attack and defense you get through other items that we'll go into a little bit later, but you also gain through level ups. But I believe, based on what I've read, that the attack and defense only goes up every certain number of levels. So even though we just leveled up, we didn't really gain anything from it. I think the first time we get a little bit of an attack and defense buff through leveling up is when we hit level 5. And I'm not exactly sure if that's actually true or not. That's just something that I read, because I wanted to see what the level up system in itself did. Because my first time playing this game, you know, I'm leveling up and I'm looking through and I'm like, I'm not really gaining anything out of it. So what's really the point of leveling up? And again, there is a point, but it doesn't really kick in for a while based on what I've read. I'm not exactly sure. If anybody has any answers to that, that'd like to get me well informed, go ahead and let me know. I'm going to take care of these guys over here and just jump our way up through. But yeah, like any other Metroidvania style game, it's very explore heavy. There's a couple hidden secrets here and there. Ones that, you know, are relatively well hidden, because there's nothing that showcases that there is a secret area. You know, you just have to know that they're there ahead of time or use certain upgrades in order to find them. There's a robot we saw a little bit earlier. Who exactly is this? This is Notori. She is going to be our future shopkeep. Right now, all she really does is give us our first item in the game, a really good item that kind of makes, in my opinion, the slowdown obsolete, you know, other than certain puzzles and some bosses in the future. But aside from that, what she's going to give us is essentially going to be it's the biggest gimmick of the entire game, our stopwatch, you know, which does what it says. You know, you stop time with it, and through that we have a lot of different platforms and different obstacles. You know, it's, like I said, it's the big gimmick of this game, and a relatively fun gimmick, I might say, especially when it comes to utilizing it with boss fights. But we'll get more into that as we finally get ourselves to it. But we got to go through all this dialogue, which again, I'm not really paying too much attention to because I don't understand any of it, having not played any of the Touhou games beforehand. The only thing that matters to me is that X stops time. So, got ourselves our turtle clock. So now that we can stop time, we are sitting at 100 total, as you can see in the top middle there. You freeze time, and everything around just completely stops. Enemies, all of that. But one thing that I do want to showcase is that the number system is actually important, because whenever you freeze time, it starts ticking down, and it ticks down faster with every action you do, including throwing knives, which will freeze in time and then go once you unlock time. Okay? So with that, go ahead and just showcase some of it. Oh, a little bit of a misfreeze there, but that's okay. So yeah, you can just stop time, stop all enemies right in front of your way. Get a couple daggers on them, however many it takes to kill them, and then just utilize that. So, you might be asking yourselves, aside from freezing enemies, what does that do for you? Well, if you look at our MP bar, it hasn't changed since we started utilizing it. That's because throwing the daggers consumes time points instead of your mana points, magic points, whatever it is that you want to call it. The biggest thing that you get out of the Eternal Clock is that it lets you hold on to as much MP as you possibly can for times that you can't really utilize the Eternal Clock. Utilize the vending machine here, and it gives us everything, our HP, full MP, and full time. We also throw a can there, and there's this little trash can over here. What do they have to do with each other? Well, if we take it and then freeze time and go to it and hope that it drops properly, which it did not. Let's try this again. Let's hope for the best. Third time's the charm. One of these days, it'll actually go through. I'm glad that it's doing this in the first go-around, because then it showcases how frustrating it can be sometimes. Once you drop it into the trash can, it goes green. We go into our little area here, and under number 1, which is section 1, you know, we already have our time clock that we just got. It does count as an item towards 100%ing of the game, but then there's also a little trash can under that. Whenever you drop a can into the trash can, it gives you 10 gold for it, but outside of that, it's really just for 100%ing the game, because why not? But as you showcased, and I'm not exactly sure how to do this either, I don't know how to control the can and how it drops, you know, whenever you unfreeze time. So basically, you're going to see me numerous times going on my way and have to redo it again and again and again and again in order to get the full 100% completion of it, because of the fact that simply, you know, I don't know how it drops at all. It's actually rather frustrating in some cases. So another thing that I should really talk about is grays, something that we've gone through so far. Utilize our first slowdown here for our puzzle. Perfect. So, we had this cat gets a little bit close to us, and as you saw, there was a graze. I took some damage for that, but there was a graze effect. Graze is when an enemy or an enemy's attack gets a certain distance of touching you, and through that, you actually get health points back. I believe you also get MP points, but I don't think so. I think it's just HP you get back, and from the looks of it, no, it looks like you do get both. So, whenever you graze enemies or enemies attack, you get a little bit of health back and mana points back for that. If you freeze time, instead, you get time points back. So you can actually increase the amount of time you get by getting closer to enemies during a time freeze. However, doing that only gives you time points back. You do not get any HP or MP back for doing that. So that's a big thing to note there. Water is another big gimmick within this game, because whenever you freeze time, you essentially freeze water as well, and you can use that as platforms. It can also be used as obstacles to stop you from being able to move forward. But we'll utilize it just to go right across here. Get 3 daggers on that guy, call it good. Thank you for jumping, good sir. Makes it easier to hit you. Alrighty. So as I showcased there's actually 3 directions that you can throw your daggers. Straight in front of you, which if I showcase with the freeze here, it takes up about an upper, a middle, and a lower portion. You don't have to worry about enemies being too small for you to hit, because there is a duck, but there's no duck attack in this game as you start throwing the knives once you get up. You can throw it straight up above you, and if you jump and press down, you'll throw it at a diagonal downward, not straight down, and there's no diagonal upward either. It's just straight up or diagonal down. Get more enemies here for some more jewels. Jewels we will get a little bit more into later. Jewels do a little bit more than just give us simple money, really. I shouldn't really be ignoring enemies because I do want to grind up on jewels. Obviously, jewels are going to be the money of this game, but as you can see, our gold hasn't been increasing since we picked up the jewels. That's because the jewels, you know, have their own little gimmick on how you get gold with it. But again, we'll go more into detail on that later on in the game. Right now, we're just going to go to our first warp point. Just showcase what it looks like on the map. We don't have any others at the moment, so we will continue onward. I really dislike these wisps, spirits, whatever it is that you want to call them. I don't know the actual names of any of the enemies in this game, but they are an annoyance. In the very beginning, they're not so bad, but later on, they can rather be a massive pain to deal with. Kind of like trying to get these perfectly into our trash bin. Please. Sometime. Anytime. Like, like I said, I don't know how they fall out of your character here. You know, Sakuya, I think her name is, the maid or whatever. Again, I don't know. I know nothing about the Touhou games. And I'll keep saying that because it's a very important thing to know, because there are some times where it's like, oh, such and such happens. I'm like, great, what does that mean? Because I really legitimately have no idea what it means. But another thing that I should also state early right now when it comes to the story, if you're going to get this game looking for a decent story, you got to look elsewhere. There really is no story when it comes to this game. And again, that's a little bit of a thing where, because I don't know the characters well, because I don't know the games well, to me, the lack of a story and kind of like the way the characters talk to one another is a bit of a turnoff for me in a game. In a sense, you know, there's not much going on story-wise, but I can get over that. But sometimes the way the characters interact with each other really confuses me. And again, that's just because I just don't know anything about the characters, you know, so their personalities can be a little bit off-putting in my opinion. But I don't think that's enough to stay away from this game. Do I think you should wait for it to come on a bit of a lower price tag? Yeah, sure. You know, 12 bucks isn't too bad for a game like this, but for 6 hours, that's a little bit steep for some people, which I could totally understand. That's why I'm saying, you know, if you're looking for something really deep, you probably might want to wait a little bit. Just because, again, you're not really going to get much story-wise or anything out of it. It's a really relatively short game. First ability here, the sliding kick. You just press down to duck, and then you use the jump ability B, and it gives you a slide kick. That also gives us a little bit of a knife that you can use for a slide attack. Very rarely used. You're only going to use that if an enemy happens to be in an area where you need to slide, and you can just take care of them that way. Outside of that, you're not going out of your way ever, that I've done anyways. I've never really gone my way to utilize as an actual attack against anybody. There really was no point, really. Whoa. Fish still alive. Can't let fish stay alive. Perfect. Alright, so with that first upgrade, we can now explore more of the area. And where we are at, this is good. Perfect. Oh. We can actually use the slide to get our first actual skill upgrade. There are basic ability upgrades, there are item upgrades, and there's skill upgrades. Ability upgrades, like the sliding kick, are more for exploration, like any other Metroidvania style game. Skill upgrades are like, you know, your extra weapons and abilities in Castlevania and whatnot. And your items are more like, you know, extra inventory that you can utilize. Again, we'll go more into that later, but let's just say that that stopwatch we got, it's not the only stopwatch we're going to be getting within this game. That's no bueno. Let's redo that. Get the time, freeze ahead of time, take care of this guy from his long distance attacks first. Perfect. Alrighty. Do a small little bit of backtracking here. But yeah, you usually want to go out of your way to try and, you know, do... Ah, that's not good. That's fair. Get right in front of it. Oh, I touched it. Ah, I touched his attack in the middle of freezing. That's no fun. Slow down here. Ooh, I did a jump instead of a slide. That was almost no bueno. I don't know what any of these enemy names are either. Like, I could totally call them out, but because I don't know, I'm like, yeah, it's this dude or that guy over there. You know, I don't really got anything because I don't know the names of any of them. I don't know why I'm going to try and toss it in there. I'm going to get some more gold. But anyways, that's where we're going to call it a part for the time being, ladies and gentlemen. So I do hope you enjoy the rest of your evenings. We'll catch you all on the next part.